News screens display alarming global headlines about monsters and catastrophic events, spreading fear and confusion. Outside the school entrance, students gather while someone complains that the trending news is just exaggerated nonsense, comparing it to old rumors about zombies. The crowd's attention suddenly shifts to the appearance of the popular girl, Chu Kin. Students begin gossiping about her breakup with her boyfriend. One student remarks that she only settled for him because she was accepted into a top university, while he could not even get into an ordinary college. They agree that their futures were never compatible. Another student struggles to remember the boyfriend's name, guessing that it might be Fangi. Suddenly, Fangi appears in front of Chu King. Calmly, she states that she has made her decision and believes the relationship is no longer realistic. She explains that high school love often ends with a moment of clarity, implying that they were never truly right for each other. She adds that a lasting relationship requires equality and courage. Firmly, she says they should break up and that no matter what he does, her decision will not change. Fangi remains silent, wearing an empty expression as the crowd watches. Internally, Chu wonders if he is too stunned to respond. The crowd silently mocks Fangi, assuming he will beg her to stay, since she is the school's prized flower. One student even calls him foolish for dreaming beyond his reach. Casually, Fangi replies that it is fine and lets it go. Chu Kin stares at him in disbelief. Fangi says he will leave if there is nothing else to say. As he turns away, she calls out for him to wait, questioning whether his cold reaction is genuine or just an act. He looks back and calmly asks if she has anything else to say. Furious, she warns him that no matter what he thinks or does, she will never return to him. Coldly, he tells her not to overestimate her importance, referring to her as nothing more than the school flower. Chu is left speechless as Fangi ignores her, saying that he is too busy to continue the conversation. As he walks away, some students express surprise at how quickly and easily the breakup ended. Fangi reflects to himself that Chu Kin and the others have no idea about the disasters that are coming. He is no longer the person they once knew. He is someone who returned from the future to this timeline. He knows that in the face of what is coming, social status, money, diplomas, and reputation will become meaningless to him. Now, Chu Kin is merely a figure from a past life, with no remaining value. Trivial gossip no longer matters. What lies ahead is far more important. In his mind, the world and its values will soon be completely transformed. He knows that the true threat is not personal relationships, but the crisis that will soon endanger all of humanity. The story shifts back to the previous night. Strange visions and fragmented images surround Fangi as he receives a mysterious cosmic message. A countdown appears, showing 361 days until the rebirth of spiritual energy, an event that will bring unprecedented and unpredictable changes to the world. The message declares that societal norms will collapse and a new era of spiritual practitioners will emerge, where power is the only measure of value. Startled, Fangi reaches out as the vision unfolds. Floating in a radiant cosmic space, he faces a brilliant light and asks who it is. Suddenly, a wave of light and energy surges toward him, catching him off guard. The screen reveals that an end-of-the-universe system has been activated. It uses a supreme algorithm to generate spiritual techniques based on the spiritual beings the user comes into contact with. The interface shows that Fangi currently possesses 0 techniques. As he reaches toward the interface, overwhelmed by the gravity of this new power, Fangi silently activates the glowing system panel with curiosity. Without warning, a massive beast with glowing red eyes charges toward him, jaws wide open as violent energy explodes outward. The creature appears to emerge directly from the system itself, surrounded by lightning and chaos, while Fangi floats nearby in shock. His eyes widen as he realizes the danger before him. Fangi sees the fate he once shared with countless ordinary humans. Sweat drips down his face as the memory resurfaces. He questions whether that helpless figure was truly himself in his past life. He remembers being powerless, dragged along by disaster, struggling only to survive. He recalls the darkness of that past as lightning struck and mutant beasts roamed the city. He remembers watching his homeland collapse, unable to stop the destruction. His former self died in despair, consumed by a burning desire for revenge at the moment of death. In that final instant, the fire in his eyes burned with hatred, reflecting the pain that still lingers within him. He believes the system chose him because of his intense desire for revenge, granting him the chance to return 1 year before the rebirth of spiritual energy. He realizes that almost no one is aware of the imminent danger, but he is now fully conscious of what is approaching. He reaches his hand toward the glowing core. With determination, he decides to use this year to turn every spiritual event into an advantage. As light erupts around him and the transformation begins, the system initiates a new evaluation process, scanning Fangi as energy starts pulsing within him. His eyes shine with a golden glow. The system declares that the user is now bound to the system, and a new path has been opened. Everything in the world can now be used to forge spiritual techniques, shaping a powerful practitioner destined to save humanity. Meanwhile, in the outside world, authorities announce that humanity is facing an unprecedented crisis and must abandon past knowledge to adapt to the unknown challenges ahead. Fangi confirms to himself that this moment marks the true beginning. With other people nearby, he notices that the authorities don't reassure the public, instead only advising everyone to remain cautious and alert. A phone displays warning alerts accompanied by strange images. Fangi reflects that such open warnings are unusual. In the past, news like this would have been censored immediately. A silent auditorium appears as he explains that the country uses calm, indirect methods to mentally prepare people for disaster without spreading panic. Fangi admits that this approach is exhausting and slow, but far better than in neighboring countries, where disasters are met with chaos, violence, or looting. Fangi recalls one of the system's rules: everything abnormal can become a source of power. He knows that whenever something unusual happens, he must rush to the location immediately. His eyes narrow. He checks his phone. A headline warns of the highest UV levels in a century at King Shangen University, along with a heatwave alert for new students, disguised as a casual sun protection notice. Some nearby students dismiss it as media exaggeration, joking that the university probably paid to trend online. Unaware of the deadly danger behind the warning, Fangi looks up at the cloudy sky, noticing how different it appears compared to nearby weather alerts. He checks his phone again and sees that the UV index in his current location is 0. He questions how Kingshan University, only 15 minutes away, could be experiencing extreme UV levels. Then he reads an official statement from the school announcing that registration will proceed as normal despite the intense heat. While online comments joke that the warning is fake or photoshopped and the public dismisses it as a hoax, Fangi smiles subtly, knowing deep down that the danger has already begun and that he is the only one who truly understands it. Feeling confident, Fangi senses that his first real opportunity has arrived. The sun shines unnaturally over the north gate of Kingshan University. He arrives calmly and immediately senses that something is wrong with the environment. As students flee from the unbearable heat, Fangi calmly observes glowing particles floating around the campus gate and wonders what they are. He crouches down and reaches toward one of the flickering lights. The moment his finger touches the glowing orb, it pulses violently with a surge of energy. A flash of light bursts forth, catching Fangi completely off guard. The system detects a severe solar-type energy disturbance and immediately initiates the solar attribute data model. Fangi screams in pain as unstable energy surges through his body. A massive explosion of radiant light erupts outward, flooding the entire area with intense solar energy. Onlookers react in shock. Some wonder if they are hallucinating. Others joke that it looks like a Super Saiyan moment, while another compares it to a celestial being descending to Earth. Fang Yi screams in agony as solar energy pours into his body. He wonders if the formation is complete, feeling as though he is on the verge of death under the pressure. Suddenly, the system confirms that the formation is complete and that he has obtained the golden sun breathing technique. The transformation is complete. His hair turns white, his eyes glow gold, and his body radiates powerful solar lightning. At Kingshan University, the welcome day for new students begins under an intense glow. A crowd gathers around the registration area as students line up. One student offers to help Chu Kin carry her luggage. As she draws attention, several boys rush toward her, offering guidance and club flyers in hopes of impressing her. "Please, calm down." She politely declines with a firm but courteous thank you. Nearby, a group of students chat excitedly, happy to be in the same city. Shu King stands beside them, visibly uninterested, thinking that they are completely infatuated. Suddenly, a massive explosion of light appears in the distance, drawing everyone's attention and leaving Chu Kin stunned. A warning echoes through the loudspeakers, advising students to stay away from the North Gate due to an incident. With a serious expression, she realizes that strange things are happening everywhere and decides that she must investigate on her own. At the North Gate of Kingshan University, amid swirling smoke and flames, Fang Yi appears. A system panel activates, explaining that by fixing his gaze on the scorching sun and inhaling its blazing heat, Fang Yi can perform the golden sun breathing technique to strengthen his body. Without any prior learning, a new skill is unlocked, and writing points are gained as golden energy continues to pulse around his hands. Fang Yi looks at the system panel, which confirms that a new skill has been unlocked, and that 59 writing points have been obtained. He wonders what writing points are. After a brief pause, he decides that it does not matter, assuming that they will be useful and that he will figure out how to use them later. The sun shines intensely overhead as Fang Yi looks up. Nearby students begin reacting to the strange phenomenon. One comments that the sky suddenly darkened, while another felt a chill in the air. Someone shouts that a crowd is forming at the North Gate, and Chu Kin rushes toward it. A large group of people gathers at the campus entrance. The president of King University arrives with security and demands to know why so many people are present despite an alert message being issued. He orders everyone to complete a check immediately, warning that those who fail to comply will lose points. A hooded officer commands the team to restore the perimeter and completely seal off the North Gate area. The president confirms the order with a nod. A system notification appears, confirming that the contamination level at the North Gate of Kingshan has been purified. Fang Yi reads another message, explaining that a contaminated zone is an area designated by the government where spiritual return energy appears. He's surprised to learn that this phenomenon is officially recognized and realizes that he's not the only one affected. A broadcast warns all unrelated individuals to evacuate the sealed North Gate area immediately. Fang Yi remains cautious as military personnel take control. Someone asks if they are from the army, while others in the crowd express confusion about the situation. Fang Yi realizes that the disturbance has grown too large and that his presence has attracted too much attention. Without hesitation, he launches himself into the sky, deciding that it is time to leave the area. The hooded officer steps through the smoke. He kneels and touches the ground, picking up a small crystal fragment. Bringing it close to his eyes, he inspects it carefully. After examining the crystal, he states that the event was not an accident, suggesting that someone may have already begun resonating with spiritual energy. As security orders the crowd to disperse, the officer continues observing the area, while other staff assist with crowd control. Chu King hears the mention of spiritual energy and questions whether this disaster was truly unnatural. She wonders if such terrifying events could really be caused by humans. Watching Fang Yi from a distance, Chu King recalls the shadow she saw earlier and wonders if it was truly him. She doubts her initial suspicion, telling herself not to be naive. She thinks there's no way Fang Yi with his average performance could have entered Kingshan University. At Fang Yi's home, as the sun sets and Fang Yi lies on his bed, Fang Yi struggles with the intense heat radiating from his body and wonders why it does not subside. Despite taking cold showers and using air conditioning, nothing helps. He's drenched in sweat and realizes that if this continues, he will not be able to sleep tonight. While wiping sweat from his face, Fang Yi worries that the earlier chaos may have exposed him. He quickly checks his phone and finds a trending update from the Spiritual Energy Practitioners Association ranking, announcing a new classification system. Recognizing the name, he remembers that the group was once an obscure online community that occasionally posted spiritual training content, previously dismissed as pure fantasy. The image of the hooded figure earlier comes to mind, and Fang Yi begins to suspect that the people he encountered at King University may be part of the same association. He taps the announcement to view more details about the Spiritual Energy Practitioners Association, revealing multiple spiritual cultivation rankings. Although the content appears fantastical, the watermark proves that it is genuine and officially released by the National Agency of Xia. He reflects that in his past life he never encountered such information because he was just an ordinary person, completely focused on surviving the disasters. Realizing that this may be an official signal for early awakeners, he sits on the bed and decides to resume practicing the Golden Sun breathing technique as instructed. He closes his eyes and begins breathing steadily. As the heat inside his body rises, he starts to sweat, but he remains focused. Flames of golden energy swirl around him as he levitates inside his room. A narration explains the first step of the process, strengthening the body into a vessel capable of absorbing the energy of heaven and earth, as if becoming a living weapon. He channels his spiritual energy and concentrates intensely, commanding himself to shape it into the form of a divine axe. As golden power erupts around him and energy condenses above, Fang Yi wonders if this could truly be real. Then, the system confirms his breakthrough to the 1-star Phantom Axe rank. A new system prompt appears, reminding him that he has 50 writing points available to convert knowledge into abilities. He had forgotten about them, but now considers using them to further enhance his cultivation level. Fang Yi reflects on the system's explanation, questioning what it means to forcibly embed power into anything. Curious, he extends his glowing hand and wonders if a random object, such as a mug, would qualify as anything. A system window appears, asking whether he wishes to use one writing point to embed the solar attribute to the mug. When the mug begins to glow, he realized his guess was correct. Smiling with satisfaction, Fang Yi confirms to himself that this new ability has limitless potential. He understands that forcibly embedding attributes means granting supernatural powers to objects. He wonders what would happen if he used this ability on a weapon, such as a sword or a pistol instead of a mug. He looks at a sword in his possession, understanding that a weapon forged specifically for him with supernatural powers will be crucial in the future. Fang Yi stares at the sword inside its case, planning to experiment with the system and test its effects before committing to forging a true weapon. Determined, he resolves to fully prepare for the imminent threat of mutant beasts. Under the moonlight, a massive mutant beast approaches the building from the forest. The creature crouches in the darkness, watching intently. Inside the room, the sound of coughing echoes repeatedly as moonlight spills through the window onto the bed. Fang Yi lies there, sweating and coughing as he shifts slightly and murmurs faintly. Suddenly, he slowly opens his eyes and sits on the edge of the bed, his feet touching the floor. He walks into the living room and stops, noticing something as moonlight floods the space. He focuses on a sound, thinking that since reaching the Phantom Axe rank, his hearing has become sharper than normal, allowing him to hear noises from nearby apartments. Lying on the sofa, he continues hearing repeated coughing sounds and realizes something is wrong. Fang Yi peeks through the door of his apartment and hears coughing echoing through the corridor. He spots a beast with glowing red eyes and black feathers in the hallway and identifies the source of the sound. It is there. Recognizing it, he realizes the creature is a mutant rabbit beast affected by mutation. Even with distant memories from his past life, seeing this beast again still sends chills through him. Meanwhile, a helicopter with a searchlight approaches the city. A long-haired girl stands on a rooftop under the moonlight, stating that the rabbit that consumed the dark spiritual fruit is still at large, and that its speed is surprisingly fast. She instructs others to stay updated on any new developments, while continuing to suck on a lollipop. She leaps across rooftops, moving swiftly through the city. Suddenly, she senses something in midair and shifts her attention toward it. With force, she launches herself from a building and accelerates toward the source. She reports that she has detected the beast's dark energy again, and that it fled 20 kilometers into a residential area. She requests an immediate pursuit to protect the residents. She kicks off a building wall powerfully. As she spins through the sky, she warns the others to be cautious. The beast consumed a spiritual fruit, and although its transformation is incomplete, it can still grow stronger. A man on the street looks up in shock as a streak of light cuts across the night sky. Inside the manga department of the Central Broadcasting Channel, a man wonders if he is hallucinating from overwork. A colleague scolds him, asking if he has finished the manga. He points out that they are on the 65th floor, stunned by what he sees outside, a figure leaping across the full moon. Meanwhile, the mutant beast charges toward Fangy with a roar. Fangy's eye glows with intense golden energy in response. He notices that since his breakthrough, his body has improved significantly. He can clearly see the beast's slow movements, and his muscles react fast enough to evade its attacks. Power gathers in his hand as golden energy crackles around it. He wonders if these terrifying mutant beasts are already appearing so early. As he advances with his energy ready to strike, he recalls from his past life that the beast has not yet fully transformed, but its current stage increases its power and madness due to dark energy. He prepares to attack, determined to stop it before the residents become victims of its fury. He grabs the beast firmly, releasing his power through his glowing hand. A loud crack echoes as he strikes the beast with full force. He stays focused as golden energy surrounds him. He realizes that the beast's weak point is its tail and prepares to strike. He launches upward, shattering the ground as the beast is thrown into the air. His eyes shine intensely as he channels energy into his glowing fist. A powerful golden beam shoots upward, striking the beast mid-air. The beast screams in pain as it is hit directly by the concentrated energy attack. The mutant beast attempts to absorb a powerful sphere of radiant energy while facing Fangy. Fangy strikes the beast directly with the energy of the yang element, questioning whether it dares to absorb it. Intense solar energy floods the beast's body, causing it to lose control. Fangy declares that the power of the sun is far too majestic and that the beast is provoking its own destruction. A massive explosion erupts from the collision of energies. A man lying in bed reacts to the blast, wondering if it was thunder. He looks out the window, intrigued, trying to see what caused the noise. Fangy lands outside the building surrounded by fragments of glowing energy, realizing that nothing remains. He reflects that the creature acted desperately, as if starving and trying to consume all the energy in his body. As the golden energy fades from his feet, a red eye rolls near Fangy. He stomps firmly on the ground, cracking it beneath him. Fangy thinks to himself that although the beast used the element of darkness, its attacks were wild and reckless. The yang element within him suppressed its energy, revealing how desperately hungry it truly was. He reflects that if he had not awakened, he would have been devoured by the others, by the mutant beasts, whose hunger was already beginning to manifest. He knows that to survive future threats, he must gather more spiritual energy techniques. Meanwhile, under the full moon, the girl descends from the sky. She lands heavily in the forest, moves forward, and questions whether the target is truly dead. Kneeling down, she confirms the corpse has been shattered and decides to begin collecting the remaining dark element energy. As she reaches toward the ground, she suddenly reacts to something unexpected. The girl recoils in shock from the heat, pulling her hand back and wondering how intense it is. She realizes the heat comes from a highly concentrated energy, similar to what was detected at King Chan University, and suspects it is not a coincidence. Bringing her hand to her earpiece, she contacts headquarters, confirming that the rabbit is dead, and explaining that she was not the one who killed it. A new pioneer did, someone with a high-grade elemental affinity. Someone at headquarters asks whether the same individual who purified the polluted zone at the north gate of King Tan University also killed the mutant rabbit. Another comments that the individual is not listed in the headquarters records, and comments on the unusual talent of a pioneer possessing such pure elemental power. They insist that the association must contact him immediately. The girl calmly unwraps her lollipop. She acknowledges the command with silent understanding as she places the lollipop into her mouth. Still chewing, she casually says that before anything else, she just wants a cup of milk tea. Feng Ji wonders who this mysterious person is, recognizing that such overwhelming power must belong to a true expert. He silently swears to find them, no matter the cost. Feng Ji stretches his arms in front of a large window as sunlight pours in. He states that every day's plan begins in the morning and acknowledges the dazzling sunlight. He removes his shirt, revealing a muscular physique, and mentions that waking up early helps with his cultivation. Standing under the sunlight, radiant energy begins to swirl around him as he activates the golden sun breathing technique, focusing on sensing the morning sun and operating the technique. Surrounded by brilliant golden energy, Feng Ji explains that after entering the Phantom Axe realm, he can now sense the aura of the mountain masterpiece more clearly when using the golden sun breathing technique, which feels like threads circulating around a divine axe. A sudden explosion of light erupts as he realizes that the breakthrough happened faster than expected. Surprised, Feng Ji clenches his glowing fist with determination, channeling power through his arm as energy surges outward. Raising the golden axe, he notices that it feels much lighter than before. As he swings it, he reflects that cultivation is like chopping wood. What truly matters is persistence. He brings the golden axe down with force as radiant energy surges through his body. He stabilizes himself while channeling power, declaring that his axe technique is becoming more refined and destructive. With golden eyes shining brightly, he feels his body growing stronger and remarks that his physical endurance has increased. He reflects that although his progress seems fast, it is due to the unused residual energy from his previous one-star breakthrough. Surrounded by golden flames, Feng Ji decides that from now on he must level up steadily, one step at a time. Looking at a package labeled as authentic products, he notices that the anomalies caused by his cultivation are too eye-catching and realizes he needs to find a quieter place. At the association office, an older man hears something and reacts with curiosity. Holding a phone, he detects a fluctuation of solar energy and immediately suspects that Feng Ji is the source once again. In a quiet mountain forest near a stream, Feng Ji sits cross-legged and activates a screen interface in front of him. When prompted to use coding points to embed an item into an item, he confirms with a yes as golden energy envelops him. He recalled a previous attempt when he used a figurine as a weapon. The coding worked, but it could not withstand the power of the young attribute. Now, holding a new blade, Feng Ji senses that not all objects can be transformed into weapons, but this one is different. He feels that the blade and his body share the same origin and resonate strongly together. The screen confirms that the coding was successful. Surrounded by golden energy, Feng Ji praises the weapon and prepares to test its power with a strong strike. Shocked by the overwhelming force, he exclaims in surprise as a massive explosion of light bursts from the blade. Holding the glowing weapon with a confident stance, Feng Ji releases a blazing arc of energy in a wide swing. The massive strike nearly caused a forest fire. Relieved that the situation did not worsen, he surveys the smoke and destruction, realizing that the attack was too loud and that he has likely been noticed. He prepares to leave quickly. Meanwhile, the girl rushes toward the scene, frustrated and repeatedly shouting in anger. She complains that she only went to redeem a coupon and buy milk tea, but ended up missing something important, blaming her bad luck on Mercury being in retrograde. She suddenly looks shocked and screams in surprise as she realizes something about the hot spring. Running through the swirling smoke, she questions what the Buddha statue just did and wonders how to deal with the consequences and where to report this incident. With teary eyes, she worries about being scolded by the cleanup department again and complains that since they appeared, nothing good has happened. Suddenly, she is caught off guard when something hits her from behind. The girl freezes in shock and cries out in disbelief, realizing that just last night, the aura was still at the Phantom Axe 1-star level, but now it has advanced to 2 stars and even carries the presence of a spiritual weapon. A visual explanation describes spiritual weapons as powerful tools infused with attributes far beyond ordinary weapons. She notes that spiritual weapons are extremely rare, with the association possessing only 2. She is confused how someone else could have one, especially since current technology is still incomplete and restricted from public use. After a pause, she laughs nervously and says it must be her mistake. Sitting near the stream, she prepares to cool herself down and clean up the aftermath. Walking through the forest, Fang Ji reflects that his weapon now carries the Young attribute, but the system never said it was limited to only 1. Remembering the system's words, he recalled that many techniques can be coded, and anything in the world can become coding material. He wonders if he can stack multiple attributes onto the same weapon. While checking his phone, Fang Ji receives a message from someone asking if he is a pioneer. The sender reveals that they checked his browsing history and saw that he entered the realm after using a driver post. Fang Ji realizes he forgot to configure his privacy settings. The conversation continues as the user explains that their group has 3 members trying to connect with other pioneers. Fang Ji replies that he is also a beginner. They ask about his cultivation progress, mention how difficult the Divine Axe body tempering realm is, and share a rumor that a national team player has reached that realm. Fang Ji replies that it sounds impressive. Fang Ji is surprised to learn that even official military recruits are still only at the Phantom Axe realm. He receives a message from Doug72 about a newly formed pollution zone and a suggestion to form a team offering security and shared items. Fang Ji is intrigued and asks about the new zone. He requests the location, and IDub72 sends a compressed data file titled Fused Dragon of the Dark River. Fang Ji begins extracting the file. The file explains that the pollution zone originated from a dark river altered by tectonic changes, now transformed into a fused layer due to the global mutation. Fang Ji notes that his Y-type attribute matches this phenomenon and considers it a promising opportunity. He sends a message confirming his participation in the team. In the Anio district, someone asks Fold L when his friend will arrive. A group stands before a huge sealed entrance, with one member thanking Chi for the detailed map and information that helped them find the location easily. Another member expresses gratitude for the group's support and reminds everyone that once inside, they will need to take care of one another. Zhang Shou, an employee of the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association under the Ministry of Culture, laments that there do not seem to be any outstanding pioneers to recommend this time. A narration explains that most pioneers do not realize the association is a government agency and that becoming a formal member is extremely difficult, often requiring powerful connections in multiple tests. Jun Shai sighs, fearing overtime if the group fails to discover anything. At that moment, someone excitedly recognizes Fang Ji approaching. Fang Ji steps forward confidently and introduces himself, saying it is a pleasure to meet them. She observes Fang Ji and assumes he is in the Ghost Axe realm, 2 stars. She finds his aura strong yet familiar, warm rather than oppressive. The group gathers at the cave entrance. Someone announces that since everyone is present, it is time to proceed, and another responds with an okay from inside the cave. Fang Ji takes the lead and asks Zhang Shoya to handle the lighting. She agrees, and the group begins their cautious descent. As they explore, one member warns Fang Ji to watch out for loose stones. Another comments that the heat is not as intense as expected, assuming it is because they have not yet reached the core of the pollution zone. Fang Ji reminds everyone to prioritize safety and to speak up if they feel tired. Fang Ji reflects that although he arrived last, the group has already welcomed him warmly. He feels that their friendship is genuine, whether born of kindness or survival instinct. The team reaches a cavern filled with glowing, molten lava. One of them exclaims in admiration, realizing it is truly lava. Suddenly, Fang Ji rushes toward the lava without hesitation, alarming the group. Zhang Shou warns him not to act recklessly in the face of such danger. Ignoring their shouts, Fang Ji plunges a weapon into the lava. The others panic, shouting that he is being reckless and begging him to pull back immediately. Flames erupt violently from the lava pool when Fanji makes contact, shocking the rest of the team. The system detects a world anomaly called inner flame and begins analyzing it, activating maximum computing power to decode the phenomenon. The analysis reveals that the inner flame has an extremely high internal temperature and explosive traits, making it incredibly destructive. The system then describes the crimson flame blade technique. When the blade is drawn, each strike is surrounded by blazing flames and lightning, unleashing its full power. Fanji prepares his hand to activate the technique, surrounded by swirling energy. He declares that it perfectly complements his Tang blade, and chooses to spend a serial point to incorporate the inner flame attribute into the weapon. The team watches in awe from a distance as Fanji emerges from the lava unscathed. They notice that his weapon is absorbing energy from the layer and confirm that he is unharmed. As flames swirl around his newly enhanced blade, Fanji feels confident. One team member praises his discovery and decides to absorb energy during training as well. Fanji notes that the spiritual energy has stabilized and that it is time to cultivate. Another teammate raises his arms excitedly, saying he can now absorb energy smoothly. A second shares the same experience, saying with a bit more training they will officially step onto the path of cultivation. Cyanio smiles and assures them that they do not need to worry about safety. She is only there to collect information and will stand guard while they focus on training. Everyone expresses their gratitude to her. Suddenly, Zhang Shoya turns toward the cave entrance and notices new figures approaching. She alerts the group that more pioneers are arriving. A group of aggressive newcomers appears. The red-headed leader mocks the others, calling them weak and declaring the area as his territory. Zhang Shou looks at her teammates who are cultivating and realizes that all three enemies are in the Ghost Axe realm 1 star. Concluding that they cannot afford to provoke them, she responds politely that they found the place first and that her friends have already begun absorbing energy. She offers to share the area if they are willing to cultivate peacefully. The man sneers at her strength and shouts for her to leave. He threatens violence if they do not leave immediately, and Cyanio reflects silently that in this era of spiritual energy revival, the rule is survival of the strongest, and the weak are left behind. Even so, she remembers that as a member of the National Association, she cannot allow this to continue, and must intervene. At that moment, Fanji steps forward confidently, surprising her. Standing tall, Fanji confronts the red-headed man, accusing him of only knowing how to bully a girl. The man reacts in shock, shouting, "What?" Fanji draws his flaming blade and attacks, releasing a powerful shockwave that forces the enemies backward and stuns everyone around. The man yells for his group to retreat as Fanji's blazing attack hurls them into the air, overwhelming their defenses. One of Fanji's companions is stunned by the sudden surge of energy, asking what just happened. Fanji reflects that the tragedies of this world began when cultivators started worshipping the idea that the strong should dominate the weak. However, he concludes that such people cannot be persuaded by words or moral teachings. Only power can stop them. Fanji delivers another scorching strike, telling the enemy to disappear as the attack explodes with devastating force. The leader is shaken by the second explosion, panicking as he wonders what kind of monster he is facing. Overwhelmed, the enemy group turns and flees in terror, while Fanji calmly holds his sword. Fanji's companions rush over excitedly, praising his insane power and saying that his sword strike looked incredibly cool. Fanji smiles and says that the enemies crossed the line, but that they have absorbed enough spiritual energy. It is time to leave. As the group agrees and prepares to exit the spiritual zone, they reflect on how destructive Fanji's attack could have been if it had landed directly. Watching him leave, Zhang Shou notes that he is clearly a high-level pioneer with elite talent and a powerful attribute. Clenching her fist, she firmly decides that this event must be reported to the organization. At the office of the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, a woman reacts to a report and asks whether another high-level attribute pioneer has appeared. The girl nervously denies anything suspicious, while secretly confirming that she recorded the event and should be contacted for any updates. She ends the call and saves the data as instructed. Later, excited, she tells her professor that they have found 2 high-level pioneers consecutively, but he dismisses it, saying it's not luck. Anyone with a high-level attribute now has value and will eventually reach power. The older man rubs his forehead in frustration over the recent developments, thinking that everything is becoming far too complicated and that he wants to give up. Meanwhile, in the city, Fanji walks wearing a hoodie with his sword. Nearby girls admire his appearance, thinking he looks like a powerful character, which leaves Fanji embarrassed. As he continues walking silently, others around him also admire him. A caption notes that he is pretending to be a cosplayer to avoid attention. Suddenly, Fanji receives urgent news on his phone. Events from cultivation novels are beginning to become reality. Golden light in the east, a purple aura, and even a dragon sighting. Fanji realizes that the anomaly was caused by the power of his inner flames, which he underestimated by 2 degrees. He dismisses the possibility that old Li or Shang Sha leaked his traces. He thinks that absorbing yang-type energy might allow him to achieve a breakthrough if he uses the golden sun breathing technique again. Deciding not to delay, he heads to the back mountain to continue cultivate it. 5 minutes later on the back mountain, Kang stretches and celebrates, having completed her task. She is startled by a powerful wave of energy glowing in the distance, and quickly realizes it is coming from the mountain. The overwhelming aura spirals upward, signaling that someone is breaking through to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. Shocked by the scale of the energy, Being realizes that this breakthrough is beyond monstrous, and wonders who could be behind it. Stomping her foot forcefully, she decides that she must immediately investigate the source of the massive energy wave. As she runs with determination, she wonders if the one responsible could be that guy, although it seems unlikely. Fang Yi raises his hands as spiritual energy begins to gather above him, spinning rapidly into a spiral with lightning crackling in the background. He sits cross-legged, surrounded by intense golden flames, his eyes shining brightly. His body is enveloped in a complex aura, and he maintains a focused hand seal. The golden energy condenses even further, mixing with blue currents and taking the form of a radiant axe. From above, Being observes and realizes that Fang Yi is trying to control the divine axe. She notices how difficult it is to manipulate spiritual power with such precision and wonders whether he is secretly trained for many years without anyone knowing. Being recalls how she herself failed before, vomiting blood and collapsing under the pressure. Watching Fang Yi from her position, she questions whether he is truly the Thunderborn monster. She notices that the divine axe is filled with spiritual energy and that Fang Yi controls it with absolute precision. Every movement of the aura seems capable of unleashing a strike of immense force, and she realizes that someone like him is not merely a genius, but a being summoned by the heavens. Meanwhile, most cultivators would rush the process after forming a core, but Fang Yi maintains abnormal focus and an intent as sharp as a blade. Being compares Fang Yi's composure to that of a high-level cultivator. She follows the aura of the divine axe as it begins to move again and shouts that it has shifted to the east. Fang Yi's eyes blaze with intense golden light. He rises into the air, completely enveloped in golden lightning. As the energy erupts around him, he successfully advances to the 2nd star of the Ghost Axe realm. Being braces herself amid the energy explosions, breathing heavily as she stands within the storm of golden lightning. She is thrown backward by a massive wave of energy when Fang Yi's divine axe releases a shockwave that engulfs the area in golden force. Catching her breath, Being wonders why she still cannot approach, even though only 30 seconds have passed. She realizes that he may have already detected her presence and fears that he might act against her next. Her eyes narrow with sudden understanding. Looking toward a large, radiant tree bathed in sunlight, Being notices that the divine axe seems to have stopped and has not fully awakened yet. Fang Yi hides among the trees and observes Being, realizing that she is the one who has been investigating him over the past few days. Being introduces herself as the captain of a field team from the Spiritual Energy Association and formally extends an invitation to Fang Yi on behalf of the organization. Fang Yi responds calmly, explaining that he has been following her for the past 2 days in the hope of joining the official association. He assures her that his actions were not meant to create a bad impression. He adds that although the association has not yet made a public announcement, all internal documentation has already been formalized. Being wonders whether he might have misunderstood her reasoning or thought that she was harassing him. She focuses on keeping calm. Fang Yi questions Being's reasoning. She tries to respond, but hesitates, overwhelmed by his directness. She debates whether to be honest, uncertain if revealing the truth would only make things worse. He explains that he wanted to locate the Spiritual Energy Association early in order to integrate into their system and resolve misunderstandings about unregistered cultivators, bringing clarity to both sides. He acknowledges that despite their differences, everyone will face the same threats in the future. Fang Yi admits that if he were in her place, he would not easily trust someone like himself, and that joining an organization without certainty would seem like a trap. Su Teng falls silent, clearly affected by his honesty. She takes out her identification card and formally introduces herself as Swan Tang, an athlete of the Spiritual Energy Association. She raises the badge with enthusiasm, hoping that Fang will recognize it. She asks him to believe her, treating the badge as proof of her sincerity. Fang Yi examines it and murmurs that her name sounds somewhat familiar. Fang Yi notices that she had better training conditions, which likely helped her become an elite runner. He acknowledges that this explains her speed, yet something still troubles him. Fang Yi's expression turns serious as he recalls that in his previous life, Swan Tang failed to complete her mission and humanity was wiped out. He remembers the destruction of the world and thinks that now that he has been reborn and received a system, he must one day join their cause, though the time is not yet right. Su Tang smiles and says that she truly recognizes him, hoping this will build trust. Fang Yi suddenly leaps away, saying that he will consider the offer, leaving a trail of wind behind. He reappears behind Swan Tang and asks her to keep his identity and actions secret for the time being. Based on her behavior, he concludes that the Spiritual Energy Association likely trusts her more than other scouts. He internally decides to make use of her abilities, believing she can serve his goals well. Su Tang agrees to cooperate, but says that the association has already noticed the disturbance caused by his breakthrough, and that she will eventually have to report it, perhaps within half a year. Fang Yi accepts the condition and agrees calmly. Su Tang leaps through the forest, frustrated that Fang Yi has escaped once again. She complains about always missing her chance and about the exhausting task of having to report everything. She grumbles about cleaning up other people's messes, but tells herself to stop worrying about it. Since she is already on an external mission, she decides to complete it properly. Receiving a message through her earpiece, Su Tang is shocked to learn that an abnormal has reappeared. She quickly asks if it is active again. She recalls the group of brutal monsters responsible for past horrors and swears to never forget them. Dark red creatures with twisted forms crawl through ruined cities, hunting, biting, and killing without reason. They target humans and spread chaos wherever they appear. These creatures are classified as abnormal beings by the Spiritual Energy Association. Their behaviors vary, with some attacking randomly, while others follow complex strategies. If not eliminated early, they grow stronger by absorbing aura, becoming more destructive and harder to eradicate. Violent lightning strikes the center of a heavy rainstorm, illuminating the city's tall buildings. Fang Yi steps onto a rooftop as the rain pours down. Emergency alerts flash across electronic screens, announcing that the area has entered a dangerous state and civilians must evacuate immediately. Passers-by comment on how frequently such anomalies are occurring. Fang Yi looks up, notices the intense lightning pressure in the atmosphere, and realizes that the center of the storm is still moving. Fang Yi climbs a ladder in the rain and faces a distant mountain being struck by purple lightning, murmuring that the signal is coming from there. Without hesitation, he leaps into the storm. He lands at high speed and runs uphill toward the mountain. He receives a system alert confirming that the area ahead is the contaminated location known as Yake Peak. Additional information identifies Yake Peak as a 1,545-meter mountain and a well-known landmark in the city. Fang Yi approaches through a fog-shrouded skeletal forest littered with bones. The system reports that the contamination level is currently unknown. Fang Yi continues forward without hesitation. Suddenly, his senses sharpen as he detects something familiar nearby. A bright blue bolt of lightning strikes the ground in front of him. A meeting begins with a report displaying a mountain struck by lightning. The presenters explain that spiritual levels are rising and that the danger level of Yake Peak and Huang Peak are increasing rapidly. A man in a suit states that the situation is serious. Since the original cleanup team has been reassigned, an emergency meeting has been convened. He asks Su Tang to continue the report. Facing the council, Su Tang explains that the peak is currently inaccessible due to explosive lightning-type spiritual energy. So far, the area has only been classified as an A-level pollution zone. She adds that within 1 hour, the level will reach an emergency classification requiring additional measures. However, based on previous data, no one in her district, including herself, has the ability to approach the area safely. The officials review the estimated mortality rates and conclude that even 3-star Ghost Axe Realm elites would face a 100% fatality rate if sent into the contaminated zone. Another official proposes an immediate lockdown around the base of Huang Peak with 24-hour patrols to prevent any entry. A second official agrees, stating that the mountain must be completely sealed at the source of the danger. The decision is finalized. No one will be allowed near the spiritual turbulence until energy levels decrease. The zone will remain sealed for safety. Suddenly, lightning strikes the mountain again. Amid the rain and flashing light, Fan Yi appears wearing a hooded cloak, murmuring to himself that he will recover his memories. He stands in the heart of the storm, but realizes that this is not enough. To absorb the powerful spiritual energy, he must advance deeper into the mountain's core. He reflects on the deadly nature of this energy and its origins. Even ordinary monsters are now becoming stronger, and the danger level continues to rise with distortions in space and time. Although he now controls the Golden Sun breathing technique and the Flame Blade, Fan Yi knows he still lacks the strength to fully wield these powers. Future enemies will be far more terrifying, and even cultivators may struggle against them. He carefully prepares his weapons, combining fire and blade attributes to enhance his attack power. However, he is aware that excessive use could cause serious damage to his body. Only by surpassing his limits can he survive what lies ahead. Fan Yi feels the immense lightning energy surrounding him and sees it as the perfect opportunity to further strengthen his body. He reflects that constant growth requires seizing opportunities hidden within nature's extremes, and that he must grasp these moments, no matter how dangerous they are. He understands that if he misses this chance, he can only wait to perish beneath the heavens. As lightning strikes, his eyes shine with intense light. Gripping his blade firmly, he prepares for what is to come. As the lightning strikes, Fan Yi braces for the impact. He marvels at the overwhelming force that crashes into him. As he channels his strength, sparks and energy swirl around him while he tightens his grip on his weapon. Trapped at the center of the storm, he roars as he absorbs the energy, enduring the painful surge through sheer willpower. Breathing heavily but still standing, Fan Yi steadies himself with his blade. He remains resolute, feeling the lethal lightning attribute coursing through his sword. He realizes that this power is like a punishment from the heavens. The pressure intensifies, forcing him to clench his fists and grit his teeth. He understands that even approaching the core of the lightning could crush him instantly. Staring into the storm, he wonders how he can make such wild power submit to him. Taking a deep breath, he calms himself. With a flash of determination, Fan Yi activates the golden flame breathing technique at full power, shouting as he releases everything he has. Fan Yi surges upward with blazing force, colliding head-on with the incoming lightning. Flames erupt from his body as he attacks, merging fire and lightning in an explosive leap toward the sky. Despite blood streaming from his mouth, Fan Yi does not falter. With all his strength, he charges toward the heart of the storm, declaring that he will survive even through his own destruction. He feels the immense spiritual energy surge through his body, shaking his core and electrifying every part of him with intense force. With eyes blazing, he declares that the storm wants to kill him, but he refuses to yield. Lightning energy rages forward, expanding uncontrollably as Fan Yi prepares for the final confrontation. A notification appears. A massive wave of lightning energy is being detected and recorded. Meanwhile, people in the city watch the storm from a tower, stunned by the scale of the lightning's impact. Fan Yi is engulfed by a colossal explosion of lightning and fire. A system message confirms that he has obtained the tempering of the divine thunder. Another system prompt appears, stating that his body has been refined by heavenly thunder into a divine state, granting him 50 system points. Surrounded by radiant energy, Fan Yi floats above the mountain. As the inheritor of divine thunder, he now carries both lightning and fire attributes, and his presence begins to shape the very weather itself. Fan Yi declares that lightning is both his fangs and his shield. He feels the power flowing through him, enhancing both his offense and defense. He channels the lightning energy within his body and notes that although it is dangerous, it causes no pain and offers both risk and opportunity. Another system prompt appears, offering the Pure Lightning Judgment ability, capable of dealing 300% damage to evil beings. The system asks whether he wishes to spend points to acquire it. Fan Yi considers whether to incorporate this lightning energy into his blade. Although it could damage the weapon's structure, it might also allow him to break through his limits. He weighs the risk of applying too much lightning attribute, knowing the weapon may not withstand it. A prompt asks whether he wishes to incorporate the lightning attribute into an item. He makes his decision, stating that the energy should be directed into his right hand. Smiling faintly, Fan Yi confirms the command with a firm yes, ready to proceed. Lightning gathers in his hand as he prepares to absorb the power directly. The next day, at Yun Peak, military forces survey the aftermath of the spiritual storm. An officer reports that contrary to expectations, someone entered the mountain before they did. The officer, Major An, confirms that the individual was a pioneer. Swantong is shocked by this news and rushes to ask whether the person survived. Kneeling on the ground, Swantong remains silent as the wind blows around her. She explains that she cannot sense his attributes or determine how long he is gone. The violent lightning from the previous day disrupted all tracking. Major An determines that the incident occurred around 7 or 8 in the morning, with the individual entering the mountain shortly before the team arrived. She is surprised and asks why they did not detect him. The officer explains that the timing of the spiritual surge coincided exactly with the association's previous predictions at 7 in the morning, and the individual may have entered before the data was finalized. Standing atop the lightning-scarred peak, the officer states that the pollution level should have reached its maximum classification, but instead the spiritual density dropped drastically. He suspects that the intruder may possess lightning-based powers, allowing him to absorb the energy. He concludes that the individual not only survived, but possibly used the event as a rare opportunity. The outcome is too precise to be a coincidence, and the individual acted faster than the entire team. Swantong and the officer agree that someone with such power is dangerous. They question where this person truly stands, as an ally or a threat. If he is a danger to society, they say he must be found quickly, because his existence could lead to a disaster greater than any anomaly. Meanwhile, Fang Jie lounges casually at home, rubbing his head while his sword rests beside him. In the command centers, an officer declares that no matter the cost, the mysterious individual must be located. He assigns the codename Tyrant. Someone remarks that they hope the association can recruit Tyrant soon. They plan to seal all information and initiate an investigation. One person mentions that a high-level pioneer is attempting to establish contact. Another orders Chu to report to Major Bike. Bike King looks surprised and says, "Ah?" The commander explains that the pioneer is the one who purified the anomaly in the Orank pollution zone near King Shen University. King panics silently, thinking that nothing must be allowed to slip through. She says that she recently tried to make contact, but the person's whereabouts are strange. She recalls finding the corpse of a mutated rabbit beast and suspects that the individual possesses a Yang Flame attribute. She plans to approach and investigate how he purified the north gate of King Shen University. In her thoughts, Bai King grows anxious, believing she has already done her best by mixing truth with lies to appear credible, and fearing that saying nothing at all might backfire. The commander murmurs about the Yang Flame attribute as he thinks seriously. He thanks Shi for her diligent work and says that they need young talents. Bai King gives a salute and replies that it is her duty and that she will continue to do her best. The commander says they will release false signals disguised as natural disasters, and ends the discussion. He adds that he does not support publishing information about spiritual energy online due to the risks. Bai King remains silent, while the older man beside the commander looks somewhat awkward. Bai King thinks that it is finally over. At Fang Jie's home on a rainy night, Fang Jie activates the golden sun breathing technique while holding a shimmering coat. The coat responds as he lifts it, now completely dry and clean. Fangjia puts it on and says that he can clearly feel the difference after infusing it with the thunder attribute. He observes that his right hand has physically transformed, becoming the strongest part of his body, with increased muscle due to the thunder attribute. As his body glows with blue energy, Fangjia feels that he is on the verge of reaching another level. He notes that the thunder attribute, despite its dominant nature, has become docile and controllable after merging with him. He recalls the pain he felt when he first unlocked the yang attribute using the golden sun breathing technique. He wonders whether energy weakens after being absorbed. With the yang and thunder attributes now coexisting, he's eager to test the results. He turns when his phone lights up, his hands still glowing with thunder energy. Looking at the alert, he wonders what has happened this time. He remembers setting special notifications after the last incident. The screen displays breaking news, stating that during times of turmoil, the country issues immediate danger alerts to protect civilians. Fangjia reflects that although these alerts are meant for safety, the opportunities within them are extremely tempting for pioneers like him. Even if it means risking death and annihilation, he feels compelled to act. Fangjia notices a report about an explosion at a chemical factory, with no casualties reported. He reads that it caused pollution in the city, and suspects that there may be more behind such a major event. He scrolls through the online comments. Some describe a cold, malicious aura near the site. Others dismiss it, while some mention that it felt terrifying, oppressive, and apocalyptic. Fangjia thinks that the cold, malicious aura feels strangely familiar. Suddenly, he recalls a terrifying evil presence from his previous life and realizes that it may be connected to this incident. A creature with glowing red eyes tells someone not to move. More creatures with glowing red eyes appear. Fangjia wonders if these creatures are the same ones he remembers. He recalls that such beings tend to appear during dark, ominous hours. At first, he thought it was just his imagination, but now he realizes that they possess terrifying powers that surpass human perception, strength, and threat levels. Fangjia looks at his electrified hand and declares this threat is far more dangerous than the mutated rabbit beast. He decides that he must act tonight to prevent them from spreading. With powers surging around him, Fangjia declares that it is time to test his 300% critical strike in real combat. Meanwhile, agents are seen leaping across the city as they track the anomaly. One agent reports that the extermination squad is tracking anomaly file number 2, but has temporarily lost the target.